Wings and Waves. Bardo, why don't angels sleep? Oh, well, who would watch over you then? Besides, people's well-being requires constant presence, so they really have quite a lot to do. Yes, but there are so many of them. Maybe it just seems that way to us. So they can't simply rest? But when? They work non-stop, weaving all life circumstances into one. You speak as if everything is already planned. Well, I'm just saying I don't believe in coincidences. The white rooms today resembled gardens awakening after winter. The scent of cleanliness floating in the air promised a new beginning, fresh and different from the precisely arranged plans for the future. Travelers, weary from their long journey, gazed upward at the high and bright ceilings as if they stretched all the way to heaven itself, while the light streaming through innermost windows flowed like a milky river, inviting the wanderers to dip their hands in and see where it would lead them today. Room number 1 was also exceptionally beautiful today. Oh, these are my favorites! Bardo called out joyfully, reaching for the box of chocolates. She chose one and held it in her fingers for a moment as if expecting answers to the questions swirling in her head. But as soon as the sweet taste finally spread across her tongue, they all suddenly fell silent and the little girl's eyes sparkled like tiny lights in deep darkness. But if angels don't sleep, do they never get tired? Does a flowing river get tired? The little ant smiled mysteriously. It draws power from movement, just like angels do. Oh, it's a bit complicated. Is it? Bardo replied thoughtfully and added, I'll be right back. Rest now. And sliding the blanket off her knees, she headed toward the door. And at that very moment, while angels were weaving all events into one, Bardo began traversing a long corridor, quiet as morning. In the first room on the left, something extraordinary was happening. The doors leading to the room, which usually stood peacefully open, now barely contained two majestic, winged beings. They were so tall, they had to bow their heads, and their wings spread across the entire width of the entrance like living, luminous curtains. If I came closer, thought the little ant, watching how each beat of their wings left sparkling traces in the air, they would probably lift me along with this entire place straight to the sky. No, that's too risky, she added, and interrupting her observation, moved forward. Still, one must admit that watching them is truly something extraordinary. She smiled. Oh, and that's the dance of found eagles. The little ant snapped out of her reverie, pressing her ear to one of the largest doors in the corridor. I would recognize this melody even at the beginning of a world. And with gentle, quiet steps, she approached the great carved doors, changing the direction of her exploration. She pressed her palm against the cool surface, and the melody now swirled around her like something alive, reminding her of whispers of long-forgotten words. A mind accustomed to order rebels against the chaos of ignorance. The little ant's small body vibrated, warming from within every single cell that recognized a truth deeper than words or thoughts. Quickly, however, she called herself back and then directed her gaze toward the crack in the doors. The flash of golden feathers and shadows of dancing figures made Bardo turn her gaze away, for she felt that being a guest in this dance too would mean agreeing to participate in an ancient ceremony she no longer wished to experience again. But how will they know? She wondered, looking at the travelers, and in her head, a quiet, subtle, and friendly voice spoke. Not just one, but an entire host of angels have laid out a meticulous plan that led you to walk beside the great waters. Bardo took a deep breath, and if not for the loud, heavy, approaching footsteps, she probably would have stayed there longer. And pushed by the joyful melody, she nearly bumped into a beautiful silver-haired old woman who was braiding her granddaughter's long plait in room number 6. For all those years, I walked to school along one unchanging path, but that Wednesday, barriers and signs appeared everywhere, pointing like arrows toward Deep Park. Moreover, that day a great windstorm arose, and right beneath my feet, a large branch fell, blocking the main avenue. I turned left, straight into a rain of autumn leaves that covered my eyes, and I bumped into a boy carrying a stack of books. They all scattered across the grass. "I'm sorry," I said, helping him gather them, and he just smiled and asked, "So many leaves in September?" You know, the years were really long then and different. We both looked up at the tree, which wasn't missing any leaves at all. And yes, that's exactly how our story began, smiled the silver-haired old woman, tying a bow at the end of her granddaughter's long braid. I think I'm being too curious, thought the little ant, and carrying the warmth of the story she had heard in her heart, she wandered further, feeling how each of her steps echoed in the endless corridor where she also saw a fairy tale weaver arranging puzzles who became more and more transparent with each fitting piece. A young knight writing a letter to someone who wouldn't appear in his life for another year, and an elf wearing crystal-like glasses through which he read a book written in invisible ink. 2 mermaids with glittering tails and tiny blue turtles curled up in balls on blue windowsills. Each room pulsed with its own rhythm, its own magic, and Bardo felt her little heart beating faster and faster from the abundance of these wonders. Her breathing became really quick, as if she were trying to absorb all this magic at once. And in her belly, she felt delicate butterflies weaving their own extraordinary stories. Every cell of her body vibrated in harmony with the mysterious energy of this place, and her head spun from all these extremely beautiful and multicolored images. And she was no longer sure whether she saw them in each separate room, or perhaps they all intertwined within her own being, creating one great living tapestry. And she somewhat felt that the same corridor through which quite non-coincidental people strolled kept extending, and she had been participating in all these stories woven by invisible hands for a long, long time. So when would you sleep? She laughed, directing her steps back toward the first room, and immediately after she held her breath as two figures tall as trees emerged from around the corner, emanating peace and gentleness. Bardo felt her body becoming lighter, her shoulders dropping freely, her muscles relaxing involuntarily, and her breathing returning, becoming deeper and very clear. The wings of these otherworldly beings shimmered, woven like spider silk covered with dew. Dew that transformed into drops growing larger and larger, then into a small stream, a brook, until finally becoming one mighty wave that flowed into room number 1, washing away all the carefully woven stories and circumstances. Bardo began blinking her eyes as if awakening from a deep sleep, and before she could cry out, "I'm here, and you?" she heard behind her the slightly amused voice of a woman in a white dress who had just entered the room. The wave took everyone who was here. "Tell those angels of yours that they need to sleep or rest, because lately something's not working right in this weaving of life's circumstances." "You know how it is," Bardo replied without hesitation. "A mind accustomed to order rebels against the chaos of ignorance. So don't try to understand them. Just believe and feel. After all, life is only one day, like the flutter of wings, like a wave that appears and disappears. It's a waste of time to just think about it." And after a short while, she added, "Live only this one day, and leave the rest to the angels." She fixed her shoes, threw the blanket over her shoulders, and quickly ran out into the corridor. And in her thoughts, she began counting how long she would have to swim to meet Emma again. 99 hours, 98, 97, 96 hours, 95, 94, 93, 92, 91, 90, 91, 89, 88, 87 hours, 86, 85, 84, 83, 82, 81 of them, 80, 79 hours, 78, 77, 76, 75, 74, 73, 72 of them, 71 hours, 70, 69, 68, 67, 66, 65 hours, 64, 63, 62, 61, 60, 59, 58 hours, 57, 56, 55, 54, 53, 52 of them, 51, 50, 49, 48, 47 hours, 46, 45, 44 hours, 43, 42, 41, 40, 39, 38, 37, 36 hours, 35, 34, 33, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28 hours, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23 of them, 22 hours, 21, 20, 19 hours, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11 hours, 10, 9, 8 hours, 7, 6, 5, 4 of them, 3, 2, 1 hour.